Who hasn't played Wii Sports? If you have your hand up, put it down, liar. I think even your grandmother has played Wii Sports. Wii Sports, along with Wii Sports Resort, are two timeless games I'm sure anyone can play forever. But now, with the huge install base of the Switch, what better time than ever to bring this series back and rebrand it as Nintendo Switch Sports? But does it live up to the timelessness of Wii Sports? Well, let's find out. Hey guys, DPX here, reviewing today Nintendo Switch Sports. Now before we get started, you know what to do. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell and leave a comment, or I will throw you in the Iron Maiden. If you don't know what that is, look it up. You don't want to be in there. The gameplay of Nintendo Switch Sports is fine. Imagine Wii Sports, but on the Switch. And instead of using the Wiimotes, you use the Joy-Cons. That's pretty much how Nintendo Switch Sports works. And you know what? That's fine. I'm not expecting state-of-the-art technology. If you get the game physically, you get a leg strap for soccer and only soccer, and on top of that, one mode of soccer. As for the sports, well, I'll get into that right about now. Nintendo Switch Sports has 6 sports. We got the return of tennis, bowling, and fencing, which is now called Chambara for some reason. I think that's like the Japanese name of fencing, but I don't know, it's just weird they changed the name of the game, but whatever. And we also now have soccer, volleyball, and badminton. I'll say my favorites are probably Chambara and bowling, with soccer and tennis also being pretty fun. Volleyball and badminton are cool too, but badminton feels just a bit too similar to tennis in this game, and volleyball is fine, but it's just not as memorable as the other sports here. I do recommend playing this game with another person, whether it's a friend in person or online, or online with a friend or a random player. I'll get into online in a little bit. I do have a slight issue, and that's that they are adding golf later on, and dodgeball and basketball were data mined, so yeah, I'm assuming those are being added later on as well. That being said, it kind of feels like this game was released in an unfinished state. Like, the game feels polished, on a technical aspect, but it's kind of low on content, as you'll see later. I feel like once you play through all the sports and the little versions of each of them, you've kind of seen all this game has to offer. But what do I mean by the different versions of each sport? Well, with bowling, there's normal bowling, and then there is special bowling, with a bunch of obstacles. With soccer, there is normal soccer and shootout, which is the only thing that uses the leg strap, as I mentioned earlier. With Chambara, you have the option to use a normal sword, a charged sword, which you can charge it up, as the name implies, and twin swords, where you use 2 swords, which is pretty cool. It adds a new twist on fencing, so it's not just a copy and paste from Wii Sports Resort. So yeah, the game is pretty fun all around. This is the segment where I touch on other stuff worth mentioning, but not too much to say on. First off, the game looks pretty damn nice for the Switch. It looks more like a modernized version of Wii Sports, which is awesome. As for the music, nothing really gets stuck in your head, and while that doesn't sound like that's too much of an issue, I don't usually take too much of an issue with soundtracks, and I really don't with this one. It's just a little disappointing, considering that Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort have 2 of the most recognizable soundtracks in video games. So this is, yeah, it's a little underwhelming. Personally, I think they should just remix the Wii Sports theme and call it a day. A new addition to Nintendo Switch Sports, though, is a character customizer. You can choose between a custom character or your Mii. Now, I originally thought, why would you ever pick your custom character over your Mii? Well, I gave the character customizer a chance, but the customization options are total shit. There is nothing you can really do. Sure, you unlock more options, but still, just pick your Mii. There's one final thing I want to talk about, though, and that is online. I thought, okay, you have half the amount of sports as Resort, but you have online, which should make up for that because the first two Wii Sports games did not have online, so that's kind of a big deal. And yeah, I'd say the online is pretty solid. I did not encounter too many issues online, and I was usually met with a rather smooth connection. So yeah, good shit. Nintendo Switch Sports, it's weird. I feel like this game kind of had a lot to live up to, but at the same time, I wasn't expecting too much. I don't know if that made any sense, but it's not a full price $60 game, so the value is a little different and a little more reasonable with what you get. At the same time, I feel like you still don't get a whole lot. And I know I praise the original Wii Sports like it's this holy grail of video games, but Wii Sports wasn't too crazy. It was a pack-in title. Like, how crazy can you get with that? Where it kind of disappoints me, though, is I felt like I can play Wii Sports forever, but I feel like I've seen everything Nintendo Switch Sports has to offer. But then again, Wii Sports didn't have a bunch of free updates. This game's gonna get a bunch of free updates, so we'll see. This isn't like Mario Golf, where the game released at $60 with fuck all content, and then it's like, oh, now we'll make the game better. This game's pretty fun as it is, because what it does have to offer is really fun. And if you can get a friend to play with, you'll have a good time. But again, this game really is just what it seems, a successor to Wii Sports, and it's not much beyond that. In the end, I give Nintendo Switch Sports a 7.5 out of 10. What we have right here is good and really fun, it's just not a whole lot of it. And I'm sure when there's more added onto it, it'll maybe increase, but even then, it's like, I don't like the idea of doing that necessarily. What do you guys think? Did you play Nintendo Switch Sports? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Do you like the game? Do you not like the game? Do you have the game? Do you not have the game? And if you don't have the game, do you want the game? Do you not want the game? Anything about the game, let me know down below. Anyways, be sure to like this video, come subscribe, or I will throw you in the Iron Maiden. And now that you've looked it up, just subscribe so you don't have to suffer that. Bye!